Welcome to college basketball in 2025, where all Americans are going portaling.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, folks? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, a daily national college hoop show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We are your co-hosts. I'm Andy Patton. He is Isaac Shade, coming to you live on a Thursday afternoon/evening. For those of you on the East Coast, we're very excited to bring you a show here covering the transfer portal, all the excitement, all of the action. Had some really big stuff happen on Thursday. Very excited to talk about that. Today's episode, as a reminder, you can listen to it ad-free on Amazon Music. Also want to give a special shout out to those everyday listeners and those of you hanging out with us in the Locked On College Basketball Discord channel. We said it's live on Thursday afternoon, but this is our Friday show. So trying to get you the latest real-time updates on the transfer portal. That includes Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers losing an All-American to the transfer portal in PJ Haggerty. We're going to talk about that. Potentially losing Dane Danger as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about national champion Todd Golden needing to replace an All-American in Walter Clayton Jr., how they're going about that. Talked about Auburn losing a player that kind of makes that team tick. A little bit of an interesting surprise move by Chad Baker-Mazzara. We'll get to that to close out the show. But Mr. Shade, we got to start with the second All-American from this past season to now be in the transfer portal. PJ Haggerty joining St. John's guard RJ Lewis in the transfer portal. Haggerty, almost 22 points a game last year for Penny Hardaway's team, about 6 boards, about 4 assists, was just tremendous all season long for this Memphis club, a team that kind of exceeded expectations in the American Athletic Conference, had a chance to make a really deep run in the NCAA tournament. Haggerty was awesome all season long, and this is a huge loss and one that, you know, we're recording this now, again, Thursday live, 5 days from when the transfer portal will close. And for me, at least, like people in my fan base covering Gonzaga have said, like, well, you know, guys like Braden Huff, Graham Ike, et cetera, if they haven't entered the portal by now, they're not going to enter the portal. You don't know. We don't know that that's the case. Like, there's going to be a flurry of moves right on that Tuesday before the actual portal closes, and a player of this notoriety, a player with this amount of talent, a player who could very realistically be a first-team All-American next year in PJ Haggerty, to enter the portal 25 days after it opens. What a gut punch for Memphis. I want to talk about where Haggerty might end up, but I want to start there. That's just a huge, massive loss for a program that did a lot of really good things last year in Penny Hardaway's Memphis team.
Dude, Andy, shocked, I think, is the only way I can describe how I felt Thursday when I saw, like, I think we get so, maybe numb's the word I'll use, to just the flood of talented players that enter the portal. And it's like, wow, go get him. Look at that. Oh, crazy. When somebody of PJ Haggerty's caliber enters the trend, like, this is a different level. This is a different caliber. And I will hear no talk of, yeah, but it's Memphis and it's an AAC. No. PJ Haggerty, I mean, would be doing this wherever he was. Yeah. Okay, maybe he goes to Duke and it's 21 instead of 22 points, whatever it is. Like, PJ Haggerty is an absolute dude, and this is massive loss for Penny, and it's a massive get for whoever it is that's able to entice him to their program. But Andy, the timing of it is something that's interesting to me, because I mean, obviously, as long as you're in the portal, it's whatever. And guys, I mean, we were talking about the Coleman Hawkins stuff well into July last year.
Yeah.
Right. And so from a timing standpoint, it's interesting to me, because to get somebody this late into things, there's going to be a lower supply, but higher demand for somebody of his caliber. And with the context of all the Nico Iamaleava stuff lately, it's like, well, what are we looking at market wise? It's just, I'm very intrigued by how this is going to go.
You know, it's funny. It reminded me of something that, again, I talked about on my Zag show, because it was a player that had been initially pursued by Gonzaga in the portal. It's Trayson Eaglestaff, who entered the portal out of North Dakota on the first day that it opened, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's pursued by Gonzaga. He's pursued by Kansas, Kentucky, a bunch of like high profile blue blood type programs. And he commits to South Carolina on March 30th, which was odd. It was odd to commit, like, no disrespect to Lamont Paris or the Gamecocks. They can land great players in the portal, but to make a decision to commit somewhere before it's even April, 6 days after the portal window opened. Well, a few days ago, Tracy Eagle staff decommitted from South Carolina. And it's like, yeah, I kind of get that, because presumably he figured out once he saw Rob Wright's paycheck, which he's not as good as Rob Wright, but he's also not 3 times worse than Rob Wright. And Rob Wright got 3 times as much money as him. And it's like, oh, maybe I should stay in the portal and see what's out there. And if you're Hagerty, like, I don't know what Memphis was offering him. I don't know what Memphis was directly paying him this past season. But at some point he had to be like, okay, there's, I mean, it sounds crazy to say this out loud, but he can make $4 million this year. Like that's a realistic, or at least $3 million, $2.5 million, something like that. And it's like, maybe Memphis was giving him a big chunk, but you gotta consider, like, that's life-changing money. And if you're a 6'3" 2 guard like PJ Haggerty is, you're probably not going to make the NBA. I mean, that's a really tough, a tough archetype to stick in the modern NBA. Maybe you make it as a bench player, maybe you're a G League guy, that kind of stuff, but you're going to make real, legitimate, life-changing money in the transfer portal. And you kind of got to explore that. And so I don't really blame the players. I've never blamed the players, but nope. I feel for Memphis fans who thought for 25 days of the portal being open that they were going to keep their best player, an All-American. And now, maybe he'll come back. Maybe Memphis will pony up some extra money, but it's looking more and more likely that somebody with some real deep pockets, probably in the Southeastern Conference, is going to pay a bunch of money, and Memphis is not going to be able to match that. And that's just the current era of college basketball.
Speaking of which, Andy, that makes a ton of sense to me. SEC, he's a very SEC player. It's so quick after we're recording this that after he entered, that obviously there's not a list or anything that he's attached to. So speculate, Andy. Who does he feel like he's a good fit for?
It's funny. I was trying to think about that. I mean, I think you got to start Kentucky. They're still looking for a guard. We know that. They don't know the status on Otega Owe and whether he's going to come back, but they do land Jalen Lowe from Pitt. So if Owe comes back, I'm not sure they're as much in the mood. We know Hagerty's from Texas, so maybe Texas does. How deep are Sean Miller's pockets? As his first time coach for the Longhorns. A&M, they're still they don't really have a roster at this point, but if they can get some money, maybe they can throw some of it out there. Baylor, of course, in the mix here. I don't think Houston, just because they already got Pop Isaacs and they got that great freshman class coming in. But outside of that, I mean, it's a who's who of blue bloods. Kansas, Duke. I mean, why wouldn't they be in the mix at this point for a player of Hagerty's caliber, even if they have to rearrange some other pieces? St. John's, they've been throwing around big money. I think he could work there. Like, it's going to be one of the richest programs in college basketball, and probably one of the most successful programs in college basketball. Those things tend to go hand in hand. But Hagerty's going to go somewhere where he gets a lot of money and he gets featured on a team that's going to be in the top 10 of the AP poll at the start of the season. That's my not super bold prediction for Hagerty.
Yeah, I'm really what I love to see in these moments. Are you ring chasing or are you bag chasing? Mm-hmm. And that is which we should start a segment on that. Are you a ring chaser or a bag chaser? That would be a lot of fun. Andy, and then the news also came out on Thursday, and there's interesting back and forth on this, that his teammate, Dane Danger, Memphis's second leading scorer, might also be going in the portal. Sam Kaiser noted that Danger, as we record, isn't in the portal yet, but will be. Pete Thamel from ESPN, about 2 hours ago as we record this, said on Twitter, quote, Memphis forward Dane Danger intends to enter the NCAA transfer portal for his agents of Young Money APAA Sports. But then, Andy, after that, an hour ago, Dane Danger tweeted, quote, not going anywhere. No decisions have been made. Look,
those two statements opposed each other.
You know something, Andy? That seems to be right. Those are in direct opposition.
It doesn't make any sense.
Welcome to the he said of the transfer portal era, everybody. So Andy, let's say, I mean, when we have two reputable sources, like Thamel's not tweeting that out unless it's legit. Kaiser's not tweeting that out unless he's got something. And I know what Danger's saying, but I feel like in those moments, it more often ends up being the media person who's right. It seems like to me, right?
Yeah, well, and what Kaiser said in his follow-up tweet was he said Danger hasn't entered the portal yet, but he's planning to. And he said he will consider a return to Memphis. So I think that what Danger is trying to say is I haven't decided whether I'm leaving Memphis, but it sounds like he's entering the transfer portal. He's just not saying no to Memphis, but I don't know why he would tweet not going anywhere if he's planning to enter the transfer portal. Like, he's going to look like a liar if he enters the transfer portal after tweeting this. And so I'm not trying to call him a liar directly. I don't know why he would have tweeted not going anywhere. Just tweet no decisions have been made. Literally just leave the tweet at that. And then if you enter the portal later, at least you can say, well, I hadn't, people jumped the gun. I hadn't decided yet. But now, by saying not going anywhere, you're gonna piss off a lot of fans of that program if you do end up entering the portal. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm assuming he's going to. Again, I don't blame him. He had a great season last year. I'm sure there's a lot of programs out there who are very interested in his services. I'm just, the timing and the he said with the media versus the player, it usually doesn't end up looking very good for the player.
Andy, I've just figured it out. There's no context. We don't even know he's talking about the transfer. I think he's just talking about his dinner options here. Like,
no decisions have been made.
I've just decided I'm going to eat at home tonight, and I've not made decisions about whether it's grilled cheese or nachos. And that's all Dane Danger's tweeting about. He doesn't even mean the transfer portal. Speaking of which, Andy, we talked about some landing spots for Hagerty. Let me go back to him for a moment. Gilead 10 in the chat here said, Tennessee? Ooh. I like that a lot. Staying in state, going from the west side to the east, following up Dalton Connect, Chaz Lanier, PJ
Haggerty, Kobe Gillespie, but I feel like those two could play together. That could work for me, yeah.
Because, man, what a dynamic backcourt that would be with the two of them. I mean, because you lose Zakai, you lose Chaz. And that, if that's your starting back, oh my goodness, I like that a lot, boy. Rick Barnes, first ever Final Four for the Vols. I'm all in on this. Way to go, Gilead, Tennessee. Andy, anything else on this Memphis stuff before we move along here?
No, I'm thinking about Gillespie and Hagerty together in Tennessee. My goodness, that would be unreal if they could make that happen.
Darn you, Gilead 10. Now you've got our brains spinning, and I love it. I'm so here for it. All right, let's stay in the SEC, where Florida has their own massive shoes to fill with Walter Clayton's departure. But Princeton guard Xavian Lee, we think he's going to be up to the task. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right after I tell you about our friends at Amazon Fire TV Stick. They sent us these great hats, Andy. It doesn't work with my big fat curly hair, but I'm wearing this great hat because I love it and I love Amazon. Did you know, this is crazy, that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab a paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Maybe you already have a console, though. Cool! A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Maybe you don't really care about gaming. That's me. I'm not a big gamer. Great news. The Amazon Fire TV Stick is the perfect go-to for all your family's entertainment. I have one on literally every TV in my house, like this TV right behind where I'm recording here. The platform is easy to use and navigate, and I love how customizable it is. So head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. Check it out right now. Okay, Andy Patton, switch us around. You love to see it. Folks, for those of you listening, I'm sorry you didn't get to see this magnificent hat on top of my curls, just trying to push it up off my head. It doesn't work well. I'm not a good hat wearer. Andy, we got some great news for Todd Golden, who lands Princeton transfer Xavian Lee to basically replace Walter Clayton Jr. I have salivated over Xavian Lee in the transfer portal. I think, people are always like, oh man, Ivy League, is it going to work? Is it going to transfer up? Everything about him, his size, his efficiency, his offensive game, the way he plays his shooting. I am enthralled with this young man. 17 points a game last year, 6 boards, 5.5 assists, over 36.6% from three. I think this is going to be a huge win for the reigning national champs to go with what they maintain in their front court. And Andy, I just think this sets Florida up really well. What's your take on Xavian Lee's commitment to the Gators?
Yeah, I think anybody concerned about Ivy League players transferring up should just talk to Michigan fans, because they got a whole heck of a lot of fun with Danny Wolf this past year. We've seen quite a few players from that league have plenty of success at the power conference levels. And Xavian Lee was highly sought after. Florida was in on him. St. John's was in on him. There was some other high-profile programs really trying to get this kid from Princeton out of the Ivy League. And I think he's a fantastic fit for Todd Golden and for Florida. I mean, we've seen Golden have so much success with guards throughout his career. We talked about it before with San Francisco and the success he had in the 3 years with the Dons with Jamari Bouye and Khalil Shabazz and other great guards. And then he comes to Florida and, helps turn Walter Clayton into an All-American out of Iona, and we saw success with even guys like Denzel Aberdeen coming off the bench. And of course, Elijah Martin had a great year this last year. Like, this is a coach who does fantastic things with guards in the transfer portal. He won't have as much time with Lee as he did with those other guys who he coached for the most part for a couple of years. But I think this is going to work incredibly well. I think if we saw Alex Condon enter the NBA draft process, but has not entered the portal. Ruben Chinyelu went in the draft process, has not entered the portal. I suspect Chinyelu will be back. I'm not as sure on Condon. I think he probably could come back. But even if he goes to the NBA, you get Thomas Houck stepping into a bigger role, and he was incredible for this team last year. So yeah, with the combination of front court talent coming back, with Lee going to be the guy with the ball in his hands a bunch for this Gators team, I think that, I'm not penciling in Florida as a repeat national champions necessarily, but this was a huge step forward for a team that already lost a ton of talent just by virtue of having a lot of seniors on last year's roster. And now they're equipped to run it back and at least challenge at the top of the SEC yet again. And Lee's going to be a huge part of that.
Man, I mean, the SEC, dude, they just keep reloading and reloading and reloading. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, let's go to Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. Where they land Illinois transfer Corin Johnson, massive young man, and AJ Storr, Andy, on his 47th school in the past 3 years. Andy, set this up. Tell us the AJ Storr story, because it's crazy.
Eighth different school, legitimately, for AJ Storr, including high school. Not 8 Division I programs. We're not at that level yet. But AJ Storr, 4 different high schools, and then he gets into college. He starts at St. John's. Was on the last Mike Anderson St. John's team before Rick Pitino took over. So he hits the portal after that season, goes to Wisconsin, and is great. Like, he was good at St. John. I think he was like 9-ish points per game for the Johnnies as a true freshman. He goes to Wisconsin, averages 16 points a game, one of the leading scorers in the entire Big Ten, just had a remarkable season with the Badgers, and ultimately entered the transfer portal again and got what was at the time a huge paycheck. I think it was like $1.2 million from Kansas, which is funny because now it doesn't even feel like as big of a paycheck, but was one of the more kind of notable disappointments in college basketball out of the transfer portal this past season. And Kansas got a lot of attention because they had multiple players who kind of disappointed last year coming out of the transfer portal. Rylan Griffin didn't really live up to the expectations that he had. AJ Storr was, I think, the most notable disappointment, as like, hey, this is our Jalen Wilson, Grady Dick type replacement. He's going to start at the 3. He's going to be a do-it-all versatile wing. Maybe we'll go Kevin McCullar since he was there more recently. Regardless, Kansas typically thrives with like a really versatile, strong, small forward. And they didn't have that last year because Storr just didn't materialize into that guy. He kind of just disappeared too often in games and was just never really the player they needed him to be. And so now he hits the portal again and ends up, he's gone Big East, he's gone Big Ten, he's gone Big 12. So why not go hit the SEC for your 4th year here, go into Ole Miss, joining Chris Beard's team. we'll see. We'll see. I think the fit makes sense on paper, but what version of AJ Storr do you get? Is this an every other year thing where maybe he really blossoms as a senior for this Rebels team? I'm not super confident. We'll see. But it's certainly an interesting fit that I think could work. I think Chris Beard could get the most out of AJ Storr and make this work. But right now, I'm more skeptical than anything else. Less about Beard, but more about the player.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think Chris Beard just has a knack for getting guys to do stuff. The defense is such a critical thing for the Rebs, and we saw that. I mean, good grief, the way they beat up on Iowa State in the NCAA tournament, I didn't see that coming. They hung around with Michigan State. Is that who ultimately knocked them out, if I'm remembering correctly?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm smart and I know stuff about things. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe there is a bit of a revival here. We'll have to wait and see. Andy, a couple other SEC moves. Sam Walters coming back to the SEC, had left after his freshman year at Alabama, went to Michigan, now coming back to Mississippi State. I thought he was going to be great at Michigan. I think he had to, am I remembering correctly, he had some injury stuff this year?
Think so, yeah.
Does that sound right? That was keeping him out. And so, but just has great size. I think he could be a phenomenal 3, maybe stretch 4, depending on personnel at Mississippi State. And then Amir Ali from Arizona State will join him there in Starkville. Be interesting to see. Nick Pringle, Andy, you talked about AJ Storr going from conference to conference to conference. Nick Pringle just bounces around the SEC. Started at Wofford, went to Alabama. Last year was at South Carolina, and now he's heading to Fayetteville to be a Hog with the fighting Coach Cals. And so, I think he is a serviceable big. I think he'll be able to do some things, and should be a nice piece to complement a lot of the more, forgive me for saying this of Nick, but to complement more of the talented kind of Arkansas players, to just be a big body in there, which I thought he was able to do well at times at Alabama. Andy, any thoughts on any of those other 3 guys?
Yeah, you covered what I was going to say on Pringle, which is basically just that he feels like a really good option for Arkansas if they're not relying on him as much. Like South Carolina, he started all 32 games. He played 25 minutes a game. If he does that at Arkansas, I'm going to be a little concerned about Arkansas. I think that he needs to be in a smaller role, like he was at Bama, where he played 18 minutes a game his second year at Bama. Only 8 minutes a game as a freshman. And we've seen that with Cal, kind of, rotating bigs in and out. Jonas Adu would disappear for weeks and then be really good for a few weeks. And I think that if that's kind of how they utilize Pringle, I think it could work really well for the Hogs. But if they're really relying on him to be like a huge piece for them, I'm not sure he's good, but I'm not sure he's good enough to lead Arkansas where they want to be in that situation.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. So, man, just the SEC, they just keep loading up and loading up and loading up. I think this is going to be an every offseason thing. It's a lot of fun to watch, Andy.
Well, and we're going to keep talking about the SEC because we got to talk about what's going on at Auburn. Soon to be 26-year-old. He's 25 now. He's going to be 26 during the season. Auburn wing Chad Baker-Mazara, somewhat surprisingly, enters the transfer portal. And we're going to talk about why he might be doing that coming up here in just a second. All right, folks, continuing our conversation here about the transfer portal on Thursday afternoon as we have our live show here talking about some reactions to some transfer portal entrances, including PJ Haggerty, the big move, Xavian Lee going to Florida. Now I want to talk about another somewhat surprising transfer portal entry that we saw earlier in the day on Thursday. Chad Baker-Mazzara is entering the transfer portal after 2 seasons at Auburn. And Isaac, I want to set this up a little bit. Baker-Mazzara started his Division I college basketball career in the 2020-21 season. That was the COVID season. That was the year that Gonzaga and Baylor went to the national championship. I put that on there to remind people how long ago that seems like it was. Baker-Mazzara was 20 when that season began, and he spent 1 year at Duquesne, and then he transferred to San Diego State for the 21-22 season. Then he sat out the 22-23 season. Then he spent the last 2 years at Auburn, and he's still got college basketball eligibility because he sat out that year because that COVID year doesn't count against his eligibility. Yeah. So now a 25-year-old, he was born in January of 2000, is going to be entering the transfer portal. And look, Chad Baker-Mazzara is a good basketball player. He was a key piece for Auburn this past year. He started at the 3. He played 12 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, shot 38% from 3. This is obviously a very talented player. He's also a very polarizing player. There are concerns about the attitude. There are concerns about his just being on the court. We've seen a lot of technical fouls. We've seen a lot of trash talking, concerns off the court at times. And for me, I'm just curious why Baker-Mazzara is looking elsewhere. We know that obviously money seems to be a big motivator for a lot of players, but you can't really be at a program that is more successful than Auburn. I mean, they're in the Final Four. They're incredible. I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country for most of last season, had the best resume in college basketball by a landslide. And I'm not saying that means every player shouldn't transfer from Auburn. I get why the end of the bench guys are transferring because they want more minutes, but you started and played a key role on an incredibly good team last year. Like what else are you trying to get out of a potential other school that you're not feeling like you're going to get at Auburn? Is it just because so many players are graduating and departing and you don't think they're going to be as good? Is it just trying to sell yourself to the highest bidder? Like it feels like a strange situation for Baker-Mazzara to be in the portal. It felt like coming back to Auburn and being a key piece, or maybe even the key piece for this team, seemed like it would have been a better situation for him, but who knows?
Andy, before I say his name, is this the first time we've talked about Duquesne on the show since we talked about Bronny James maybe going there?
I think so. I don't think we talked Duquesne hoops a lot last year. I don't think they were all that good. I apologize if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've talked a lot of Duquesne hoops.
Gosh, can you imagine what this year would have been like if Bronny? Anyway, I just remember that just hit me in real time. Like, I feel like the last time Duquesne came up on the show was Bronny James might go there. Anyway, Andy, I'm dumbfounded by this move.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I've been able to think of that might go along with looking for a payday, which I totally get, to go along with the point of like, Bruce Pearl knows how to deal with it. It's kind of like Steve Kerr and Draymond. I've thought a lot about that comparison, of like, man, Draymond is such a contributor when he's doing the right things, when he's on his best choir boy behavior.
Yeah.
And it's the same that like I'm just so intrigued with Chad Baker-Mazzara. Like, I think he's fun. I think he's engaging. He's just got to learn to rein it in.
Yeah.
It's made me wonder if maybe part of it is like Auburn didn't plan on him coming back. And so they had other ideas. And it's like, maybe we're ushering him out, but it's not like there's this massive influx of crazy talent where that seems to line. Sometimes we get that story, like Jeremy Roach last year. I think he was kind of shown the door a little bit, I don't think it's that. So I can't wrap my brain around this yet, Andy. It's odd. It's so odd to me.
Yeah, and like for Auburn, like they did bring in Keyshawn Hall from Central Florida, who's 6'7", who's kind of a 2-3 hybrid wing who averaged 19 points a game in the Big 12 last year. Keyshawn Hall is awesome, and he's going to be awesome at Auburn. And if the majority of Auburn's rotation and lineup from last year were returning and they added Keyshawn Hall, then I could understand why Chad Baker-Mazzara enters the portal, because maybe it does feel like he's getting pushed out. But this program is losing. Like Miles Kelly's gone, Denver Jones is gone, Dylan Cardwell's gone, Janai Broom is gone, Tahad Pettiford, we don't know yet, but he's in the NBA draft process, could conceivably be gone. So like you have a bunch of holes to fill. And yes, Keyshawn Hall and Chad Baker-Mazzara probably played the same position, but Bruce Pearl plays 9-10 guys. He plays, guys, everybody plays 23, 25 minutes per game. Like there's very little doubt in my mind that Baker-Mazzara would have had a similar role this upcoming season at Auburn. And maybe he still will. I mean, entering the transfer portal doesn't mean you're for sure not returning to the school you were at, but it is rare to return to the school. And it just doesn't feel like Keyshawn Hall is the addition that would push somebody. And again, and Keyshawn Hall, they added him like during the tournament. So if that was the reason, why did Baker-Mazzara wait till now to enter the portal? It just doesn't line up. It just feels like there's something else here. And maybe there's not. Maybe he just, was impulsively decided, you know what, I want to test the waters. I want to see what's out there type of thing. But yeah, I'm with you on kind of the Steve Kerr, Draymond Green kind of comp of like, it feels like this is a place that has accepted him. This is a place that has figured out how to utilize him the best on the court, has figured out how to help him rein it in off the court. And he's thriving here. It's hard for me to say, again, thriving at a mid-major school or even thriving at a lower tier high major program, I can understand why you don't have the portal, but thriving here, I just don't really get it. I just don't get it.
Oh, Chad, you crazy, right? Like, I feel like that's how the Auburn folks kind of interact with him.
Yep.
And I love it. He's affable and it's fun, but I'm just as entertained to see where he lands and how that coach handles him. Andy, I know you said about the two Keishans spelled differently coming in. Did you mention Overton and I missed it?
I did not. I also didn't really mention Keyshawn Murphy, but yes.
Okay. So Kevin Overton, our favorite Kevin, sorry, Kevin McAllister, I love you. But Kevin Overton from Texas Tech, that's an inside joke from the show and the NCAA tournament run. But Kevin Overton from Texas Tech is coming in. We got two Keishans, Keyshawn Murphy and Keyshawn Hall from UCF. And so, you know, Bruce Pearl just keeps reloading. And we're going to, our plan right now is to talk to great Locked On Auburn host Zach Black next week. Maybe we can get some more insight on this, Andy. We'll see what's going on there. Folks, happy Friday show, even though it's Thursday. Happy Good Friday to those of you that celebrate, by the way. Going into Easter weekend here, may your egg hunts be bountiful. I think I hate it for my kids. I think our egg hunt's going to get rained out, and I know they're going to be very sad. So maybe I'll hide some eggs around my house. There you go, here, Andy. So that'll be lots of fun. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on a Thursday evening. Maybe you're eating your supper, whatever it is. Man, college basketball never stops. I love that we get all this content. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On College Basketball on YouTube, go ahead and do that right now so you don't miss a second of all the coverage going on this offseason. If you've not joined Locked On College Basketball Discord, we'd love to see you in there. That link is in the show notes. It's free to join. As always, we want to wrap it up by saying apologies to the Lawyer family. Let's go Wild Pope. Shouts to McBruins. And until Monday, or unless craziness happens this weekend, we'll talk then. Peace.